New federal charges against a Baltimore City Schools officer who also coaches for Dunbar. The latest on the time card fraud investigation, first reported by FOX45's Project Baltimore team. And a spree of violent carjackings in Arundel County. What we're learning about the suspects as the victims recover.
And after an active Friday night of storms, things have calmed down this morning. I'll let you know when our next round of storms shows up in our area in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good Saturday morning to you. Look at that gorgeous sunrise after the night we had last night. You probably need it. Thanks for being with us this Saturday, September 9th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get right to your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson. Lots of thunder, lots of lightning. I mean, just yesterday was a doozy.
Yeah, exactly. Ended with a very active scene across our area. I'm actually showing you a 6-hour loop. So this is what you missed probably while you were sleeping. Overnight, we had some more storms roll through, all producing lots of thunder, lots of lightning. But now the radar looks much quieter this morning. We're still warm, we're still a little muggy, so it didn't really help us in that department much. Upper 60s to begin this morning, but we are drier to start. If you are stepping out for a jog or run, just be prepared. You might encounter some downed branches or some trees in wake of last night's storms. Otherwise, we're mostly cloudy and muggy to begin. Temperatures will warm their way through the 70s, getting close to 80 degrees by the end of the morning. And then we are tracking another chance for showers and storms all weekend long. I'll show you when we have the highest risk for that in just about 10 minutes. Taylor?
Developing now, a Baltimore City Schools police officer and Dunbar High School football coach has been arrested by the FBI. It's a story first reported on Fox 45's Project Baltimore team back in September of 2022. Lord Smith is accused of fraudulently getting more than $215,000 in overtime pay, then trying to avoid paying taxes on that money. Fox 45 news cameras capturing the moment the FBI stormed North Avenue just Friday afternoon. Fox 45's Keith Daniels has a closer look at the latest details.
At the federal courthouse in downtown Baltimore, Lawrence Smith, a Baltimore City Schools police detective and Dunbar High School football coach, flanked by his attorney, Chaz Ball, and City Schools Police Union President, Sergeant Clyde Boatwright. Smith arrested Friday morning by the FBI, accused of overtime fraud and tax violations. After being released at pretrial, pressing the coach and his attorney for comment about the serious allegations.
Mr. Ball, what's your reaction to it? Hey, Coach, do you think you should say something, though, to your players? What would you say?
For now, nothing said. Smith is an 8-time state champion football coach at Dunbar. He's also a city police school officer since 2005, promoted in 2016, prosecutors say, to detective and put in charge of the school police overtime unit. According to the indictment, Smith used that position from January 2019 through August 2022 to fraudulently receive overtime pay from city schools for hours he did not work, totaling over $200,000 in the alleged scheme. Prosecutors say he also filed a false tax return and tried to evade paying federal taxes.
You want to say something to your players, Coach? Good example, bad example, what? Sergeant Boatwright, do you have anything to say about one of your officers? Sergeant Boatwright? No, sir. Okay.
No comment, but a spokesperson for Baltimore City Schools called the charges, quote, unacceptable, and said Smith's alleged actions, if true, eroded the trust between the district and the public. The district said it's cooperating with authorities and making internal changes, including upgrading procedures and monitoring of school police overtime.
To see all of our coverage on the Lawrence Smith overtime investigation, you can go to our website, foxbaltimore.com. In Anne Arundel County, police there are investigating a pair of violent crimes that sent one man to the hospital and another ducking for cover as those shots rang out. Fox 45's Vincent Hill has more on this crime spree and who police are looking for.
You can't sleep when you hear pop, pop, pop.
Gloria and Carl Scott just moved to Laurel for work. Early Friday morning, they were awoken by the sound of gunshots.
shots fired at the garden in 3400 Lower Fort Meade Road off of Russet Green West.
Just across the street from their hotel.
That's
disturbing.
Yeah, that's very uncomfortable.
An attempted carjacking. The victim shot at while driving away. 2 nights earlier, and just a mile away.
Carjacking. There's 2 suspects, 1032. They took the vehicle on the phone. I'm still doing descriptions.
A carjacking, leaving that victim pistol whipped by one of the suspects.
It was a pretty significant injury, but he is going to recover from that.
And Arundel County Police providing these details about the suspects.
In the first incident, the victim was unable to provide any specific descriptors such as race or height. All they could say is they were 2 males dressed in dark clothing. In the second incident, they were 2 African-American males dressed in dark clothing.
Based on the close proximity of the crimes, police say they could be related.
Detectives are not ruling out the connection between these 2 cases. It's certainly something they're going to look into.
Meanwhile, the Scott family already thinking of leaving the area.
At this point, it's not worth the safety of my family.
Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Next week, state leaders will hold a virtual hearing on the juvenile crime crisis. This year, there's been an alarming spike in youth violence across the state. A number of crimes committed by young people and the number of victims has skyrocketed. This meeting is being held online, but Fox 45 News will be in Annapolis, pressing lawmakers for answers on what impact they hope this meeting will have. The Juvenile Interrogation Act is just one of the laws some prosecutors and police around Maryland are calling lawmakers to change. It's a law that requires an attorney to be present or consulted and a parent be notified before a juvenile is questioned by police as either a suspect or a witness. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned Baltimore City State Attorney Ivan Bates about the plan and why he's sounding the legal alarm bell.
I strongly believe it's unconstitutional.
Why?
When you look at the act and you look at the law, the 5th, the 6th, and the 14th Amendment, certain rights we have. And when you look at Miranda, and that's where you are advised of your rights. What Miranda says is that as the government and the state must advise an individual, doesn't say their age, doesn't say their sex, their race, anything like this, an individual of the right to remain silent, the right to have an attorney. And so what we've done is you look at how the Supreme Court has applied that. You cannot force an individual to have a lawyer or to consult with a lawyer. I believe that we're trying to take away some rights by acting like we're giving any others. And that's unfortunately what I feel is the beginning of the end. We must protect the rights of the minors as well as making sure parents have the right to be parents to their children.
So what do lawmakers need to do?
When we've done all the research on our end and we're continually doing research, then I think it'll be incumbent upon us to move that narrative so that the lawmakers will understand how this law violates people's constitutional rights, and the lawmakers will have to make that decision. Otherwise, I'm sure eventually there'll be some public defender or defense attorney that will challenge the law. So either lawmakers will decide what happened or the court will decide what will happen.
Well, Bates says he's talking with legislative leaders about ways to address the juvenile crime surge. Mackenzie will have more from her interview with the state attorney right here on Fox 45. You can catch that Sunday at 10 o'clock. A scam impacting residents, businesses, even federal agents. Still ahead, the efforts to track down those responsible on today's Maryland's Most Wanted.
And after a stormy end to the week, unsettled pattern will continue actually over the next 5 days. Here's a look at our rain and storm chances through the weekend and into early next week. I'll break this down in more detail in just a couple of minutes. It's 7:08. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
All right, we're back with a look at some of the events happening in our region today. Let's go ahead and check this out. Hundreds of motorcyclists will come together for the 12th annual 9/11 Patriot Day ride. Registration starts at 9 o'clock in Darlington. The group is going to take a 29-mile ride to Putty Hill Avenue in Parkville. They should arrive there by 11:30 this morning. Also starting at 8, Catholic Charities will host its 12th annual Dragon Boat Races at the Inner Harbor West Shore Park. At noon following these races, there's going to be a celebration with local musicians, food, drink, vendors, the whole nine. And then at 9:30, Governor Wes Moore and Mayor Brandon Scott will be at the National Staff the Frontlines bus tour stop right here in Baltimore. It's an initiative to sound the alarm on the public service staffing crisis. Well, if you're looking to buy a new iPhone soon, you might also need to buy a new charger once again. Coming up, why Apple is changing their iconic lightning cable. And the final weekend of the Maryland State Fair, it's here. The familiar faces you're going to see today if you head out to Timonium Fairgrounds. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
A scam is hitting the greater Baltimore region. Investigators say criminals are pretending to be federal agents, even using real names and numbers in order to get your money. Alexa Ashwell has this week's Maryland's Most Wanted.
Investigators say it happened to a woman right here in Baltimore, and even agents have been targeted by these criminals over the phone. Tonight, a warning to all. August 2023, Baltimore City. Investigators say a woman receives a call on her cell phone, and the person on the other end of the line identifies themselves as a member of the U.S. Marshals Service.
And they were told that they were wanted for drug trafficking.
The woman, investigators say, tells the caller she's not involved in drug trafficking.
Obviously, she knew she didn't have a drug trafficking warrant.
But the number the caller was calling from, in fact, came back to the U.S. Marshals Service, and the name he provided to her, an actual agent.
The telephone number that they called from came back to a U.S. Marshals Service telephone number. They used an actual Deputy United States Marshal's name and said that I am so-and-so Deputy U.S. Marshal, which was an actual Deputy U.S. Marshal.
The woman complies.
She then went to her ATM machine. She took out $4,500, which was everything she had in her ATM machine. From there, she was told by the scammers to go over to a Bitcoin machine and deposit the money into an account in the Bitcoin machine. She did this and later on realized that she made a mistake.
The woman not alone. In fact, Deputy Chief Matt Silverman with the U.S. Marshal Service says the scammers even targeted him.
I received a phone call last week, similar situation from a scammer. They gave me a telephone number. I called that telephone number back, and it was registered to a law enforcement agency. It was a sergeant's name, who I actually knew the sergeant from when I used to work for Anne Arundel County Police.
So these scammers are doing their homework.
They are definitely doing their homework. They are sophisticated.
Silverman warning the criminals are becoming more bold, persistent, and successful.
No law enforcement officer is ever going to ask you for money to squash any kind of warrant. They will not ask you for your passwords, for money, or anything like that. If that does happen, please give law enforcement a call.
As for this criminal investigation, the U.S. Marshal Service says the FBI is handling it as that agency handles internet crimes. And a word of advice for people, especially those with older family members, is to talk with them and even establish a password should someone call and claim to need help. I'm Alexa Ashwell with Maryland's Most Wanted.
All right, you know what they say, after the rain comes the sun, and there was a lot of rain last night. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with a look at our forecast now. I mean, come on, behind you is just gorgeous.
So much better than what we were up against last night. Lots of thunder, lots of lightning. Maybe it even woke you up overnight. We had some storms actually linger as early as 5 a.m. this morning. Now they're all gone. So we are starting off in the upper 60s. Much better this morning. Still just a little sticky out there and mostly cloudy too. We've got to wait until the end of the weekend to really cut down on the heat. But I can say our heat wave officially over. No longer tracking 90-degree temperatures this weekend. Now here's the weather maker to blame. This has caused storms now 2 days in a row. So this continues to be the culprit behind showers and storms this weekend too, actually. So that's what we're going to continue to track this weekend. And you'll notice that does trigger some scattered showers and storms, just not until later today. So first we heat up again. We get awfully close to 90. I don't think we're going to make it there. We see the first storms kind of bubble up right around 4, 5 o'clock this evening. And then they linger through the first part of tonight, lifting to our north by 10, 11 o'clock. After that, things quiet down again. We're in the low 70s to start and mostly cloudy. Tomorrow looks a little more active. Showers and storms get started as early as 1 o'clock. And that's not good news. 1 o'clock is going to be busy downtown at M&T Bank Stadium. Ravens home opener. I think we are up against some scattered showers at that point and throughout the game too. As we get into your Sunday night though, showers and storms will wind down once again. So for today, we're actually included in a marginal risk for severe weather. It's low on the threat level scale. It just means any storm that develops could produce some damaging wind gusts and some heavy rain. Looks like hail and tornado threats remain low with any storms that develop today. So keep that in mind, though, if you're headed out to the Maryland State Fair. Lots of FOX45 folks will be out there this afternoon. You might dodge a few showers and storms later, but I think most of the day is actually fine, just still a little warm and humid. Tomorrow, a better chance for showers and storms, especially during the second half of the day, but not as hot. We are settling back into the low 80s by the end of the weekend. And then here's that all-important Ravens forecast for Sunday. I would be prepared for at least a shower, at least a storm. Otherwise, kind of warm and still sticky with temperatures in the low to mid 80s throughout that game. Looking ahead at our 7-day forecast shows unsettled pattern will actually take us into early next week now. More scattered showers and storms Monday, Tuesday through Wednesday. And then we change things up. We finally dry things out Thursday and Friday and cool things down. We're back in the upper 70s by the end of the week. Taylor?
All right, another year of the Maryland State Fair coming to an end this weekend. But FOX45 News wants you to celebrate with us before it's all said and done. Today is the FOX45 News Day at the fair. Our crews will be in Timonium all day to make sure you stop by our tent, say hello to the fairgrounds on Sunday. Definitely going to be out there, say hi. And whether you're riding the Ferris wheel, eating with friends, getting a funnel cake, hanging with the livestock, we want to see it all. Go ahead and share your favorite photos and videos with us here at FOX45. You can submit your content through the Chime In tab at foxbaltimore.com or on your WBFF app. Former Mayor Sheila Dixon announced she is running for mayor, setting up a rematch with Brandon Scott in the primaries. In our next half hour, we sit down with a PR expert about the messaging he says she'll need to come out on top. And the debate centered around school choice continues. The push to let families decide how their taxpayer dollars are spent for education. You're watching FOX45 Morning News, Weekend Edition, all local, all morning. All right, happening now, Apple's making changes to its upcoming iPhone charging ports. Several reports say the next models of the iPhone will shift away from the Lightning port to a USB-C format. The ports are used for charging and digital transfers like uploading or downloading music and movies. Reports say the USB-C ports have faster transfer speeds. The change also comes as the European Union mandates USB-C ports for all mobile phones, tablets, and cameras sold in EU countries. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, is now requiring workers to report to the office in person at least 3 days a week. The new office policy took effect after Labor Day. Now, the report says the policy applies to employees who aren't fully remote, and those without office assignments can stay at home. In March, CEO Mark Zuckerberg said this year is the, quote, year of efficiency, and that Meta will keep refining their work policies. Meantime, Elon Musk's X Corporation is suing California's Attorney General over the state's new content moderation laws. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill into law just last September. Among other things, the social media platform must disclose how their automated content is moderated, how those systems work, and how they define controversial content categories and the number of pieces of content that's flagged or removed in such categories. In its lawsuit, X alleges the law violates the First Amendment and California's Constitution by potentially compelling the company to moderate politically charged speech by users. All right, let's get over to today's America's Steals and Deals.
The following segment is sponsored by Noki.
If you're like me and everybody in your house is on a health journey, this Counto digital scale is really going to help you maintain a healthy lifestyle. I did a lot of research and I'm so excited about this. I'm going to show you what you get when you bring it home. But it is a digital scale and it gives you 12 different body measurements, not just your weight, because our weight really fluctuates. So this is going to give you more information, like you'll get your BMI, your bone index, and your basal metabolic rate. And if you're a new mom, it's really cool because there's a baby growth setting and you can put it in baby mode. And if you're an athlete, like I have a lot of muscle men in my house, you can also measure your muscle mass. I don't like getting on a scale, I do not, but knowledge is power, and this gives me so much information. It's really been a game changer with my health along that journey. This pairs with any smartphone, so you can take all of that data on this scale and it's gonna be on your app. Now, let me tell you how this works. The science is a little bit much. The scale can measure all these things. All you got to do, you step on it. It uses bioelectrical impedance, which measures how easily an electrical signal can move throughout your body. I know it's a lot, but that signal is going to move faster through muscle, so it can help you track what's muscle and what's fat. This is such a great deal and a cool product. Right now, we're offering 38% off the Counto scale. Head over to asadeals.com for this exclusive offer.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
All right, good morning to you. 7:30, looking live over this gorgeous Charm City after a round of thunderstorms last night. Thanks for being with us this Saturday, September 9th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get to your forecast. I got questions. Meteorologist Amy Aronson, what happened last night and is it going to happen again?
Yeah, there's a chance it could. We are kind of stuck in this unsettled pattern with the same weather makers stalled out nearby. And that continues to be the trigger behind showers and storms, kind of like what we saw again last night. So we've had 2 stormy nights in a row now, and that pattern's going to continue this weekend. We're off to a pretty comfortable start, upper 60s, low 70s to begin. It's still warm out there. It didn't cool us down a ton, and unfortunately, we've got to wait for that big cool down until the end of the weekend. Now, it won't be as hot today as it was all week, so the heat wave, that's done. We are back in the 80s today, mid and upper 80s. Still feels kind of like low 90s when you factor in some humidity this afternoon. And then we've got another round of scattered showers and storms today. This planner shows them as early as 12. I think it's a little later, 4 to 5 o'clock, we'll see things get started. And once again, they will be scattered like we've seen the past couple of days. And this pattern will actually take us into early next week now. I'll let you know exactly how long it lasts, what finally brings it to an end in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
So I stand here today as I tell you that I'm running. The key things to keep in mind is action, accountability, and excellence are what the people of Baltimore deserve in a mayor. And I know that I can deliver that.
Well, you heard it. Topping your election 2024 news, Sheila Dixon announcing she is going to run to become the next mayor of Baltimore City. She's the first major challenger to incumbent Mayor Brandon Scott. Now, in the 2020 Democratic primary, she lost by a razor-thin margin. She lost to Scott by just 2% of that vote. Dixon first served as mayor in 2006, taking over when former mayor Martin O'Malley was sworn in as governor. Then in 2007, she won that election for mayor. She left office in 2010 as part of a plea agreement to a perjury charge. Joining us live this morning with more on what it will take to win the 2024 mayoral race, Doug Eldridge, founder of Achilles PR. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, this race for mayor is already heating up with that announcement. This rematch, though, could look a lot different than what we saw in 2021, because the difference here is both contenders come in with a body of political experience to point to voters and say, hey, this is what I can do. What messaging do you think needs to be from Sheila as well as Scott?
Well, I think one of the additional twists this time around is that likability will not determine electability. And by that, I mean in any election, local, state, or federal, there are always 3 core issues that matter most to voters: crime, education and children, and the economy. How are the jobs? How much does it cost for a gallon of gas? Right now, Baltimore is losing across all key fronts. And so from a messaging standpoint, Scott is not going to, at least as of today's timestamp, be able to lean back and point statistically to his record. By contrast, Sheila will be able to, based on past performances. Now, you mentioned the previous election where she lost by 2 points. 4 years before that, she lost to Catherine Pugh, by also the same margin, roughly 2 or 2.1 percentage points. So she's been in contention since agreeing to the plea deal, and she's most assuredly going to give a hard-charging challenge to Scott coming into next year.
When you think about the core issues that you mentioned, as far as schools, as far as crime, and Ms. Dixon looks at her record and she compares it to Scott's, do you think she comes out on top when you look at her term, although it was shorter? Do you think she comes out on top when you look at the crime reduction?
Sure. If you're looking at it from a snapshot standpoint, her crime statistics were dramatically lower. I mean, let's look at Scott for just a moment. Through August, there were, I believe, 7,000 car thefts in Baltimore. I think there was 2,200 in all of last year. Now, Scott is pushing on the stat that, look, our homicides are down, our violent crime is down, and that's accurate. But it's also relative to the previous 2 years, which hit historic highs. Just earlier this summer, there was the highest number of casualties and deaths in a Maryland mass shooting in history. And just last week, Dunbar High School shots were fired, and I believe it was a 12-year-old that caught one in the back. So he doesn't have the advantage of recency bias. You know, the Jordan versus LeBron debate is a classic example of that. If you go through the Jordan years, you'd say Jordan's unequivocally the best. Scott doesn't have the advantage of recency bias because of how things are trending right now, nor does he have it statistically. He can't just say, hey, like me or not, the numbers speak for themselves. So that's why I say likability is really not going to be on the ballot this year. It's going to be results and resume. And in that regard, I think what Dixon's doing is brilliant. You know, Scott has a history, as I recall, of dodging FOX45 like the Matrix. You know, any questions that come his way. By contrast, Dixon took the station head on, and she's speaking to other outlets. And from a PR standpoint, I thought it was brilliant that she proactively wrote that open letter that ran in the Sun, because it takes on the biggest sort of Damocles that's swinging over her head, and that is her past malfeasance, the question of her integrity. There's a reason that Scott is hammering that anvil so hard. He says that nobody can question my work ethic or my integrity, because that's going to be the big arrow that they sling at Dixon. But she took the air out of the room. She said, yeah, I did it. I acknowledged it. But more importantly, let me tell you why I failed you by doing that. But perhaps most importantly, let me tell you how I'm moving forward and how I am now better situated to serve you. So from a messaging standpoint, I think what she's doing thus far is fantastic. I think these are going to be great debates in the primary. It's going to be a knife fight, no pun intended, to see who gets it out to the general.
And you make a great point about getting out in front of some of the messaging that we already know we're going to see this election, and she has done that. One last question before we wrap. I want to talk about schools for a second, because education is going to be a big piece, I think, of this election. When you look at the results we saw from last year, our Project Baltimore investigation revealed 23 schools with 0 students who were tested scored proficient. Who do you think right now is going to be able to have the strongest messaging on schools as we look at what we're seeing right now with the current Baltimore City school system and lack of pushback on leadership?
Well, I think in that same study, it revealed that 58% of schools had what was considered a chronic absentee rate among students, and over 10 high schools had a graduation rate of less than 50%. When you take it as a whole, that's staggering. Now, you know, if Scott is smart, he will step up with a very clear, delineated, articulated, and actionable punch list of how he's going to turn it around. Not speaking in platitudes. In that regards, Dixon has the advantage because she's not the incumbent. So the culpability for the current status doesn't fall on her shoulders. But from a voter standpoint, the children in the education system is unquestionably the biggest concern, because that dovetails into crime rates, specifically juvenile crime rates, that dovetails into the economy. That is the face that launches 1,000 ships, so to speak. That should be the focal point and the pressure point. Crime is grabbing the headlines, but election and a focus on the children and how you're going to turn this ship around could be ultimately, I think, strategically what could determine this election. That's where I would place my focus, and that's the part of the scale I'd put my thumb on, because that's going to determine not just now, but tomorrow and years to come.
And I'm getting a hard wrap right now, Doug, but I'm sure we'll be talking about this tomorrow and weeks to come, and we'll definitely have this chat, and it'll be ongoing because this race is heating up.
For sure, for sure. Thanks for having me this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Okay, just ahead, Marilyn Mosby's upcoming federal trial now will be held outside of Baltimore City in Greenbelt, Maryland. Now, a federal judge just granted Mosby's second change of venue request on Friday after her defense commissioned a jury consultant to complete a survey. It found 45% of residents in Baltimore City believe Mosby is somewhat or very corrupt, compared to just 26% in Greenbelt. The defense argues that a barrage of media criticism has caused this contrast. The prosecution, however, disputed this data with a survey expert who called the survey flawed, claiming the questions worded were biased and pointed to low response rates.
Any comment on Mosby's case being moved outside of Baltimore City? No comment.
In a separate ruling, the judge also decided to separate Mosby's case into 2 trials, one for Mosby's 2 perjury charges and the other for the 2 mortgage fraud charges. The judge said she granted the motion in an effort to protect Mosby's constitutional rights. Well, let's get you up here on that trial. The 4 federal charges came down in January of last year. Prosecutors say she lied about suffering financial loss due to the pandemic. She did that to tap into her city's retirement account, according to prosecutors, and did that without any penalty. Prosecutors say she then used $90,000 of that money to purchase 2 vacation homes in Florida. That's why she's facing the 2 counts of perjury. For the other 2 charges, she's accused of making false statements when she applied for mortgages on a home in Florida. Just last year, the Democratic primary, she lost that re-election against her bid against the city state's attorney, Ivan Bates. Earlier this year, her entire legal team, 6 lawyers, stepped down from the case. The lead attorney, A. Scott Bolden, facing criminal contempt charges from the comments that he made. Mosby's now being represented by James Wanda, a federal public defender. The court found she was not able to afford legal representation. Meantime, jury selection starts October 31st. The trial is slated to begin November 2nd. Maryland's plan for the future includes pumping billions of dollars into classrooms across the state. Why officials say it still isn't enough, with student performance on the decline.
And here's a look at some storm reports from last night. You'll notice we had some downed trees and some hail across the region. I'll let you know exactly when we could see more storms this weekend in a couple of minutes. It's 7:39. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
To the crisis in the classroom, with students back to class for a new year, Maryland Congressman Andy Harris believes it's time to reevaluate funding and enrollment at some of the state's public schools. In an editorial this week, Harris shared his support for the concept of school choice, or allowing families to decide how and where their tax dollars are applied to their child's education. Recently published standardized test scores for the Maryland 2023 comprehensive school year showed that less than 25% of the state's 3rd through 8th graders are proficient in math. In Baltimore City, less than 10% of that group in that same age range showed proficiency in math. That's according to the MCPAP test scores. Well, we're going to introduce you to some soccer players using the sport to learn English. Thanks to one special organization, we'll show you how. That's coming up after the break in today's Maryland's Moment. Plus, anticipation is building for the Ravens Nation ahead of Sunday's home opener against the Texans. How members of the flock have already started showing off their purple pride. Stick with us here at Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition, all local, all morning. Well, in today's Marilyn moment, imagine circumstances so extreme that you and your family grab what you can, leave everything you've ever known for a new life in America. Well, now imagine you're age 18, and those lucky enough in your community are using soccer to bridge the transition, bring some family fun along the way to a special organization. It's a lot, and it's a great purpose. Morgan Adsett and photojournalist Drew Fox take us right there.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Practice is about improvement,
Pass back.
movement.
So I play center midfield right now, and it's a bit challenging because it's a lot of running, and I hate running, but I'm getting used to it. Wow, I'm so tired.
It doesn't require much.
It's a game that's so accessible. You don't need a lot of equipment. You don't need a lot of space. You can see what we do here with just some cones and goals.
Some instruction.
Good shot, but you get next time.
Those that want to play and compete.
I play defense like a center defense. It's just me, make sure they don't get through. If they get through, that's a little challenge.
And opportunity.
It's not like just for one person, like one whole race from Africa, Europe, Asia. Even here, there's a lot of people from here, from the USA, who also like soccer. It's for everyone to just feel free how to express yourself within soccer. To just have fun.
But on this grass in Northeast Baltimore.
It's more than just a program. It's more than just soccer. It's more than just classes. It's like a life lesson here.
These children and young adults got to where they are on this field some days, months, and years ago, all under extreme circumstances.
I'm from a little region in Ethiopia. It's Tigray.
My mother had walked from Honduras to Florida, stopped there, and then she had me. Then we came back from Florida to Honduras again. Then later on, I think I was around 8, I came back here. This is where I've been my rest of my life here.
I don't remember a lot, but I do remember we lived in like this brick house, and we all slept in one room. Like there were 3 beds, I believe, and we all shared it. So like me and my sister, my brothers, and then my parents. That's all I remember. But yeah, it wasn't like I'd say we were like poor. We didn't have much.
I heard they had to pass through a whole lake that was so deep, all throughout Mexico.
Once they arrived to the United States and were placed in local city and Baltimore County schools, their love for soccer from their homeland met an after-school organization.
You know, at Soccer Without Borders, we support newcomer youth. That's youth that are new to the country, typically as immigrants or refugees or individuals seeking asylum. And often the difference between those things are based on the nature of the circumstance that someone left their country under, or the relationship that our country has with the home country that folks have.
Soccer Without Borders was founded in 2009 across 5 U.S. states and 3 countries, with the goal to use their love for soccer and sport to learn English and thrive in their new life.
High five.
Can I see it?
We have such a diverse community at Soccer Without Borders.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Here in Maryland, folks come from 20 different countries and speak a total of 35 different languages.
Beautiful.
One of our big rules is to always practice English.
So when we first came to the U.S., none of me and my family spoke English.
They spoke English? No, we did not. 3, 2, 1, let's go! Pass back!
So English language learning is baked into what we do.
Yes, Nadia!
When you're trying to bring together folks that are speaking 35 different languages, you need that common goal. And soccer absolutely creates that environment.
Go!
And learn some of those basic, community words like,
pass!
Pass me the ball. I'm over here. Or can I help you?
Finish strong!
Beautiful!
Soccer Without Borders in this simple game has changed thousands of lives, like Samira's and Alexander's.
This whole program for me was like a family. You can always rely on them.
Soccer Without Borders has changed my life, like in a huge way, because it's been such a safe and fun environment for me just to like allow myself to be free in.
Both went from players to now coaches.
Good defense.
For Alex and Samira, soccer represents a place where they grew and became leaders. Watching both of them go from quiet young kids that were learning English and were getting used to life in Baltimore.
Go, 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 counter attack, go, go, go!
To being vocal leaders who are standing up as coaches.
Look for a pass.
As referees that are confidently explaining the rules of the game. I think soccer to them represents their hopes and their goals.
Full circle moments for the two.
Because I'm a young adult right now, so it's like seeing my past childhood, my younger self playing.
I got to basically just saw another image of myself growing up. like, how did I get here?
When they first arrived to the United States without much, and how this simple game of soccer and community changed their lives forever off the field.
Soccer to me means freedom. It's even more free because this is the land of the free.
Some cones and a soccer ball, but most importantly, opportunity.
In Baltimore, we have a rich, rich history of how immigrants have shaped our culture. We believe that sports can change the world for the better.
We're done, Coach.
Well, I love that. Sports is just the great connector. And if you're going outside today to play some, meteorologist Amy Aronson will let you know how warm it's getting.
Yeah, definitely warm. Not as hot, not as brutal as it was this past week. Heat wave finally coming to an end. About time. Very long heat wave took over this week. Now we're looking down at Towson, and it looks pretty nice. You can see a little bit of fog in the distance there. That's some lingering moisture, and result of all the storms we saw overnight last night. They're done for now. We're off to a mild start. Upper 60s, low 70s to get your weekend started. But here's that pesky front. It has stalled out across Maryland, meaning it's not moving, and it's going to stay like that through the remainder of the weekend, actually even heading into early next week. So that's going to be the trigger behind additional showers and storms. All is pretty quiet this morning. We've got some activity south of here. We've got some west of here, but locally we're in good shape, at least to get things started. We are included in a marginal risk for severe weather again today. 1 out of 5 on the threat level scale, so it is low, but it means any storm that could develop will produce some damaging wind gusts. In terms of timing for today, I do think it's later. After 5 o'clock, we see some activity light up here and then push eastward. So between 8 and 9 is when we see it in our area before it lifts to the north. Then that front stalls out again, stays stuck nearby, triggers more showers and storms tomorrow. I think they're actually more numerous tomorrow, starting around 1 o'clock. Not good for the Ravens game. That's right around kickoff, and continuing throughout that game on and off. So I don't think it's a washout tomorrow, but I think we will see at least a shower, at least a storm throughout that game tomorrow afternoon at M&T Bank Stadium. And here comes the actual area of low pressure, pushes through Sunday night, meaning more showers and more storms to close out the weekend. At least temperatures are back down, so it's not as brutally hot as it was this past week. We are back in the mid-80s today, still a little humid, little muggy out there. And then tomorrow we're back in the low 80s with the clouds, the showers, and the storms, but still a little humid. We got to wait until next week to cut down on that. Meanwhile, in the tropics, we are keeping a watchful eye on Hurricane Lee. It has weakened a little bit back to Category 3 in strength, but it is expected to strengthen again back up to Category 4. And then we've got to keep an eye on it. Right now, latest forecast models keep it off the East Coast. You'll notice from the track here of our spaghetti plot, each of these lines representing a different forecast model. It does get awfully close to us as we head through next week, so certainly worth watching. But in the short term, no direct impacts from that. Instead, we've got our own unsettled pattern on our hands. That will take us through at least Wednesday. After that, we're dry finally, and we're much more comfortable. The upper 70s are back later next week. Taylor?
Football is back, and the Ravens are gearing up to take on the Texans here at home. How you can watch it all that NFL action right here on Fox 45. Well, college football is back on Fox 45 with week 2 continuing today. Another highly anticipated game with highly anticipated coaching matchup here as Colorado takes on Nebraska's new head coach, Matt Rule. Kickoff scheduled right here on Fox 45 at 12 o'clock. Our live coverage, though, begins at 10 a.m. when the Big Noon Saturday crew heads to Boulder, Colorado with former Colorado standout Joel Klatt on the call, alongside play-by-play announcer Gus Johnson and reporter Jenny Taft. You can watch it all right here on Fox 45. And then tomorrow, the Ravens take on the Texans here at home. It's their first game of the regular season. Lamar Jackson is going to play for the first time since that knee injury back in December. Plus, after 19 months with a torn ACL, Odell Beckham Jr. set to kick off the season with the Ravens for the first time. It's not looking like Marlon Humphrey is going to play, though. He was not at practice yesterday and is still recovering from a foot injury right in mid-August. Kickoff here scheduled at 1 o'clock Sunday at M&T Bank Stadium. And is it really a home opener without a pep rally? This was yesterday in Timonium as folks started to celebrate for the Ravens as they continue with their stretch this weekend. That Friday caravan celebrated football's return in Cockeysville just yesterday morning. And take a look at this. Members of the Ravens flock already dressed for game day. This is Ava and Carter, both showing their purple pride as they waited for the bus stop on Friday. We want to see how you are celebrating the flock this weekend. Scan your QR code, go to your screen, foxculture.com/chime-in, select Purple Pride, and then send us your game day pictures and your videos. We'll air them right here on Fox 45. Meantime, this Sunday also kicks off NFL football on Fox 45. We've got pregame coverage beginning at 11 a.m. That's followed by the Commanders taking on the Arizona Cardinals at 1. And then the Packers go against the Chicago Bears at 4:25. Kidney disease affects tens of millions of Americans, and the National Kidney Foundation is working to raise awareness. It's happening right here in Maryland. We'll tell you about the event and how you can help make a change. New federal charges against a Baltimore City Schools officer who also coaches for Dunbar High School. The latest on the time card fraud investigation, first reported by FOX45's Project Baltimore team. And a string of violent carjackings popping up across Arundel County. What we're learning about the suspects as the victims recover.
And we're off to a quiet start in wake of last night's storms. We'll take a look back at some of the damage done and what to expect today in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
All right, good morning to you. Looking live over Towson with some of that cloud cover. Thanks for being with us this Saturday, September 9th. I'm Taylor Stewart. It's going to be a good day. Even though those storms rolled through last night, it looks like we're looking on up, but could see more. Meteorologist Amy Aronson here to explain.
That's right. We've had a couple of days now with the heat, the humidity, and the storms. That pattern will continue. Here's a look back at some of the storm damage actually from last night. If you look closely at the little icons here, you can see some hail damage just north of Baltimore in the Towson, Baltimore County area, and then also some downed trees. So be prepared for that as you step out this morning. We are off to a pleasant start. We're dry. Upper 60s, low 70s to begin. Still a little mild out there, still a little muggy out there, so no real relief from the heat. Keep that in mind if you want to squeeze in some outdoor exercise today. I do think we're mostly dry this morning, despite what this planner is saying, but we are mostly cloudy and we're warming up quick. So by 11 a.m., we're already in the low 80s. It's later today that we're tracking that next round of showers and storms. I've got an updated look at exactly when they arrive today and for the rest of the weekend in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
All right, developing now, a Baltimore City Schools officer in Dunbar High School football coach has now been arrested by the FBI. Now, it's a story first reported on Fox 45's Project Baltimore team back in September of 2022. Lawrence is accused of fraudulently getting more than $215,000 in overtime pay and then trying to avoid paying taxes on that money. Fox 45 News cameras were capturing those moments as FBI stormed North Avenue yesterday. Fox 45's Keith Daniels has a closer look on the latest details.
At the federal courthouse in downtown Baltimore, Lawrence Smith, a Baltimore City Schools police detective and Dunbar High School football coach, flanked by his attorney, Chaz Ball, and City Schools Police Union President, Sergeant Clyde Boatwright. Smith arrested Friday morning by the FBI, accused of overtime fraud and tax violations, after being released at pretrial, pressing the coach and his attorney for comment about the serious allegations.
Mr. Ball, what's your reaction to it? Hey, Coach, do you think you should say something, though, to your players? What would you say?
For now, nothing said. Smith is an 8-time state champion football coach at Dunbar. He's also a city police school officer since 2005, promoted in 2016, prosecutors say, to detective and put in charge of the school police overtime unit. According to the indictment, Smith used that position from January 2019 through August 2022 to fraudulently receive overtime pay from city schools for hours he did not work, totaling over $200,000 in the alleged scheme. Prosecutors say he also filed a false tax return and tried to evade paying federal taxes.
You want to say something to your players, Coach? Good example, bad example, what? Sergeant Boatwright, do you have anything to say about one of your officers? Sergeant Boatwright? No, sir. Okay.
No comment, but a spokesperson for Baltimore City Schools called the charges, quote, unacceptable, and said Smith's alleged actions, if true, eroded the trust between the district and the public. The district said it's cooperating with authorities and making internal changes, including upgrading procedures and monitoring of school police overtime.
To see all of our coverage on the Lawrence Smith overtime investigation, head to our website, foxbaltimore.com. In Arundel County, police are investigating a pair of violent crimes that sent one man to a hospital, another ducking for cover as shots rang out. Fox 45's Vincent Hill has more on the crime spree and who police are looking for.
You can't sleep when you hear pop, pop, pop.
Gloria and Carl Scott just moved to Laurel for work. Early Friday morning, they were awoken by the sound of gunshots.
Shots fired at the garden in 3400 Laurel Fort Meade Road off of Russet Green West.
just across the street from their hotel.
That's
disturbing.
Yeah, that's very uncomfortable.
An attempted carjacking, the victim shot at while driving away. 2 nights earlier, and just a mile away.
Carjacking. There's 2 suspects, 10:32. They took the vehicle on the phone. I'm still doing descriptions.
A carjacking, leaving that victim pistol whipped by one of the suspects.
It was a pretty significant injury, but he is going to recover from that.
And Arundel County Police providing these details about the suspects.
In the first incident, the victim was unable to provide any specific descriptors such as race or height. All they could say is they were 2 males dressed in dark clothing. In the second incident, they were 2 African-American males dressed in dark clothing.
Based on the close proximity of the crimes, police say they could be related.
Detectives are not ruling out the connection between these 2 cases. It's certainly something they're going to look into.
Meanwhile, the Scott family already thinking of leaving the area.
At this point, it's not worth the safety of my family.
Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
The Juvenile Interrogation Act is one of the laws some prosecutors and police around Maryland are calling on lawmakers to change. The law requires an attorney be present and consulted, and parents notified before a young person's questioned by police, either as a suspect or a witness. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned Baltimore City State Attorney Ivan Bates about the plan and why he's sounding the legal alarm bell.
I strongly believe it's unconstitutional.
Why?
When you look at the act and you look at the law, the 5th, the 6th, and the 14th Amendment, certain rights we have. And when you look at Miranda, and that's where you advise of your rights. What Miranda says is that as the government and the state must advise an individual, doesn't say their age, doesn't say their sex, their race, anything like this, an individual of the right to remain silent, the right to have an attorney. And so what we've done is you look at how the Supreme Court has applied that. You cannot force an individual to have a lawyer or to consult with a lawyer. I believe that we're trying to take away some rights by acting like we're giving any others. And that's unfortunately what I feel is the beginning of the end. We must protect the rights of the minors as well as making sure parents have the right to be parents to their children.
So what do lawmakers need to do?
When we've done all the research on our end and we're continually doing research, then I think it'll be incumbent upon us to move that narrative so that the lawmakers will understand how this law violates people's constitutional rights, and the lawmakers will have to make that decision. Otherwise, I'm sure eventually there'll be some public defender or defense attorney that will challenge the law. So either lawmakers will decide what happened or the court will decide what happened.
Bates says he's talking with legislative leaders about ways to address the juvenile crime surge. Mackenzie will have more from her interview with the state attorney right here on Fox 45 Sunday at 10 o'clock. Well, it's the final weekend of the Maryland State Fair, and some familiar faces you could see today if you head out to the Timonium Fairgrounds.
And here's a look at our rain chances for the next 5 days. As you can see, this unsettled pattern not only continues through the weekend, but all the way into early next week. I'll explain what finally brings it to an end and what this means for our temperatures in the week ahead in a couple of minutes. It's 8:08. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Coming up this week on Full Measure, we investigate one of the most important health issues of our time. A concerning number of Americans are getting sick after COVID or COVID vaccines. The illnesses range from vision problems to stomach issues, weakness, shortness of breath, heart issues, and paralysis. Yet many doctors aren't able to figure out why. We'll speak to a lead independent researcher who's treating more than 1,000 patients and training other doctors on his novel therapies. Georgia is ground zero for ongoing election controversies, with Trump and his supporters claiming his win was stolen and Democrat prosecutors slapping him with criminal charges over alleged election interference. Scott Thuman tells us how the Republican Party in the Peach State is navigating the political challenges as we head into 2024. And Lisa Fletcher reports on an alarming trend that's impacting life in a big way for moms-to-be in rural parts of the country. That's this week on our premiere of Season 9 of Full Measure.
Well, another year of the Maryland State Fair is coming to an end this weekend, but Fox 45 News wants you to celebrate with us before it's all said and done. Today is the Fox 45 News Day at the fair, and our crews will be in Timonium all day. Make sure you stop by the tent, say hello, wave, come by, and we'll chat with you. The fair ends on Sunday. And whether you're riding that Ferris wheel, eating with a friend, or coming out to our Fox 45 tent, we want to see how you're celebrating. Share your pictures, share your videos with Fox 45. All you have to do to submit your content is go to that Chime In tab at foxbaltimore.com or on the WBFF app. Anticipation building for Ravens Nations ahead of Sunday's home opener against the Texans. How members of the flock have already started showing off their purple pride. And kidney disease affects tens of millions of Americans. The National Kidney Foundation is working to raise awareness right here in Maryland. Right after this break, we'll tell you how you can help make a change. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition, all local, all morning. In your health headlines this morning, kidney disease is the 10th leading cause of death in America. It impacts 37 million people across the nation. In studio with us this morning to tell more, Hendra Ray, part of the National Kidney Foundation, the Delaware Kidney Walk team campaign, and you work with DaVita.
Yes.
So tell me why exactly kidney disease is something that's really needs to be on our radar, and your personal experience with it as well, because I want folks to understand what this disease really impacts.
Absolutely. So kidney disease is the 10th leading cause of death for many Americans, and it impacts the African American community as well as the Latin American community. And right now, we're treating over 300,000 people on dialysis who have end-stage renal disease.
Wow. And here in Baltimore, you guys do a lot of that work to help make sure folks get the resources they need. But tell me, you have a personal experience with kidney disease. How did you come into this and become so passionate about raising awareness?
I did. My mother-in-law had end-stage renal disease, so she suffered with kidney failure, had to go on dialysis, ended up with a transplant, and she did very, very well. And it was through the partnership with the National Kidney Foundation that provided resources and funds for her to be able to live a better life.
And here's an opportunity for folks to really get involved. Tell me about this upcoming walk.
Yeah, so we're super excited. It's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Doors open. Registration starts at 9 a.m. It's not too late to register and be part of the walk. And the most exciting thing about this walk is it's for everybody. So we have a route, especially for folks who have mobility issues, strollers, bring the kids out, bring the family. It raises awareness, and you learn more about kidney disease and how you can definitely help and support the community.
And 33% of Americans are at risk for kidney disease.
Yes, yes.
Tell me how folks can learn more about their own health and why it's important to get invested in this, because you don't want to be, caught in the lurch and find out later in life that this is something you have to deal with.
It's so important to get checked.
Yeah.
It's so important to look for certain events, meaning maybe you might have swelling, you might have poor appetite. Definitely partner with your primary care physician and get checked and raise awareness.
Okay. Final pitch to folks who are thinking about coming out tomorrow. Rain or shine, are you guys still running, still walking?
We're still walking. Okay. It's going to be super exciting. We have DJs out there.
Where?
It's going to be at University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Awesome.
Super exciting. And then we also have Desmond Nicholson. He's a local boxer, and he's also has his own personal connection with the Kidney Foundation. Yeah. So you get to meet him. It's going to be so exciting. We're asking everybody to come out, join us for tomorrow. Family fun event.
And we're going to have all of that information on our website. Thank you so much, Hendra Wright.
Thank you.
All right, let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson, because that walk tomorrow, they're looking for the weather to hold up.
Yeah, and it looks like during the morning you'll be in great shape. So the mornings look dry, like this morning. We're looking down at M&T Bank Stadium, where they're also gearing up for a really big day tomorrow. Exciting stuff. Ravens home opener, kickoff of football season here in Baltimore. This morning, we feel fine. Low 70s, mostly cloudy in wake of the storms from last night. Still a little sticky out there. Dew points are creeping back into the upper 60s. When they get to 70, that humidity definitely becomes more noticeable. We're not far off from that. We are still tracking this pesky weather maker. It's a front that is stalled out across Maryland. It's already produced showers and storms across our area, and unfortunately it's going to continue to do that, not only today, but actually through the remainder of the weekend too. So let's time out the storms with it. Looks like today we're dry through at least 1 o'clock. We are heating up. We'll get awfully close to 90. I think most likely mid and upper 80s today across our region. Around 4 o'clock, a few showers start to pop up, but it's really later, 8, 9 o'clock, that we see the showers and storms close in from the west and push across our region. So later tonight, you've got to worry about that storm chance again. And that will continue overnight through early tomorrow morning. But then we're dry as we head through midday, and this just updated, and now it's looking more optimistic for 1 p.m. kickoff for the Ravens, with just a couple of showers showing up by the end of the game and then lingering through your Sunday night. Now today we are included in a marginal risk. Damaging winds and heavy rain, 2 top concerns. Otherwise, hail and tornado threats look minimal, so that's some encouraging news there. If you're headed out to the State Fair, most of the day is dry. It's later tonight that we've got to worry about the storms. Temperature-wise, we do end up in the muggy mid-80s. Tomorrow, similar setup with some on and off showers, even some storms. Otherwise, not quite as hot because of the clouds. Temperatures will be down, and we'll actually spend the second half of the weekend in the low 80s. So here's a closer look at that Ravens forecast for tomorrow. Yes, we could have a stray shower, an isolated storm, but I think for most of the game, we're mostly dry. And we are still warm and muggy too, with temperatures in the mid-80s from kickoff through game's end. So looking at our full 7-day forecast shows that chance for scattered storms today and tomorrow. Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday, actually more showers, more storms likely, with another weather maker pushing through. But then that's the end of what's going to be a very rainy couple of days. We are back in the upper 70s starting Wednesday, and it looks like Thursday and Friday we're finally drier and more comfortable, with highs in the upper 70s both days. Taylor?
All right, college football week 2 continues right here on Fox 45. It's another highly anticipated game with a highly anticipated coaching matchup as Colorado takes on Nebraska's new head coach, Matt Rule. Kickoff is today at 12 right here on Fox 45. Our live coverage begins at 10 a.m. when the Big Noon Saturday crew heads to Boulder, Colorado with former Colorado standout Joel Klatt on the call, alongside play-by-play announcer Gus Johnson, and we've got reporter Jenny Taft. You can watch it all right here on Fox 45. And then tomorrow, lock in with us because the Ravens are taking on the Texans here at home for their first game of the regular season. Lamar Jackson is going to play for the first time since his knee injury back in December of last year. Plus, after 19 months with a torn ACL, Odell Beckham Jr. kicking off the seasons with the Ravens for the first time. But it's not looking like Marlon Humphrey is going to play. He was not at practice this week. He is still recovering from his mid-August foot surgery. Kickoff scheduled for 1 p.m. Sunday. M&T Bank Stadium will be there. And a pep rally ahead of Baltimore's first home opener this weekend. Baltimore Ravens Purple Pride Caravan celebrated football's return in Cockeysville Friday morning. Look at them. Poe was out there too. And check this out. We've got members of the Ravens flock already dressed for game day. This is Ava and Carter going to school with some Purple Pride at the bus stop yesterday. We want to see how you're celebrating. We want to see how you're out there with the flock. We want to see your tailgates. Scan the QR code. It'll take you to foxbaltimore.com/chime in, select Purple Pride, and then send us your game day pictures and videos. Meantime, Sunday also kicks off NFL football right here on Fox 45. We've got pregame coverage beginning at 11, followed by the Commanders taking on the Arizona Cardinals at 1. And then Packers go head-to-head against the Chicago Bears at 4:25. All right, in your trending news, country music star Zach Bryan apologizing after he was booked into an Oklahoma jail on Thursday. The incident began when an officer pulled Bryan's security guard. Bryan was in a different car but stopped as well. The officer's dash cam footage shows Bryan flexing his celebrity, saying he sold out venues in Tulsa. The Highway Patrol officer told Bryan to get back in his car or risk going to jail. The latter ultimately happened when Bryan was charged with obstruction of the investigation. Now, Bryan immediately apologized for this incident on social media that same night. He said it was the result of an interaction with an Oklahoma Highway Patrol officer where emotions got the best of him. He admits he was out of line, and he says he supports law enforcement. Bryan only spent about an hour and a half in jail before he bonded out. Well, MTV has announced who will MC this year's Music Video Awards. The Barbs are actually really happy about their choice. Nicki Minaj is going to host the award show once again. Last year, she emceed and won the MTV Video Vanguard Award. Now she's set to return to the stage, host, and perform. She's up for multiple awards, too, like Best Hip Hop Video, Best R&B Video, Song of the Summer for her hit Barbie World, and, of course, Artist of the Year. You can watch the award show live this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Apple, they're making another change to their iPhone. The charging ports this time. Several reports say the next model of iPhones will shift away from a Lightning port to a USB-C format. The ports are used for charging and digital transfers like uploading or downloading music and movies. Reports say the USB-C ports have faster transfer speeds. The change also comes amid the European Union mandate that USB-C ports all need to be for USB tablets and phones sold in that country for UE countries going forward. Stick with Fox 45 Morning News after the break. We've got your 7-day exclusive forecast with meteorologist Amy Aronson.
8:27 on this, I guess, home opener eve, Ravens Eve. I know, so exciting. I'm sure they are gearing up there today for what's going to be a very exciting day tomorrow. But the sun is out and shining, looks good in wake of the storms we had last night. Lots of lightning, lots of electricity with the storms. We will see more today, but I think they're later again. So after 8 o'clock now is what our forecast models are showing. So good news for anything outside today. Still a little toasty with highs in the upper 80s. Tomorrow we'll also dodge some scattered showers and storms for that Ravens game, so be prepared for that. Unsettled pattern takes us through at least Wednesday now of next week. At least it's not as hot and humid as it was this past week. Goodbye 90s. We are back in the 80s through Tuesday. And then some much needed relief is on the way. So the second half of the week finally turns much drier and much more comfortable too, with highs in the upper 70s both Thursday and Friday, but no longer under any weather alerts. I know we've had a couple of days of that because of heat and storms. Not going to be the case for the rest of the weekend, at least. Just be prepared. You might encounter a brief shower, storm, downpour at some point, and like we saw last night, they can always produce thunder and lightning. So make sure you have a safe plan in place if you are going to be outside.
Lit up the sky.
Really lit things up.
Well, sayonara to the 90s.
Yes. Goodbye. We're done.
Stick with Fox 45 News. We have all of our coverage here for the big noon and football that starts tomorrow and today, college football. We'll be right back. Have a great day.